Greetings all, this is Hairy Nick, joined by Justin. How are you, dude?
Doing well.
Excellent. We're back to talk again about X-Wing FAQ 4.4.0. Back to look at basically the most important cards of what have happened. Last video we had a look at Advanced, Slam, and Genius. Today we're going to look at two more. Again, two cards that are very much related in the kind of builds they're flown in. Yep. ATTANNI Mindlink and the Jumpmaster as an entire ship. They have pictured here the Contracted Scout, but it is a nerf across all ships. Let's start with the ATTANNI Mindlink. And basically, the only thing that has changed with this card is limit 2 per squad.
That seems reasonable.
It seems reasonable. The power level of ATTANNI Mindlink exponentially increases the more ships you put it on.
Yeah.
3 ships is nuts. And I think one of the reasons they may have nerfed it is because now we have a great platform to put it on 4 ships with the Vaxi.
Oh.
And perhaps that was the point FFG went, nope, not too much, you can't have this, guys.
That's a lot.
And you could still put 2 ATTANNI Mindlinks on that squad with, say, 2 crack shots and the other Vaxi. Yeah. But it's nowhere near as powerful as just having 4 ATTANNI Mindlink. Basically, ATTANNI Mindlink reads, it's a 1-point APT for scum only. Now it says limit 2 per ship. Each time you are assigned a focus or stress token, each other friendly ship with ATTANNI Mindlink must also be assigned the same token if it does not already have it. Very straightforward. And the reason I think the power level of this card really got out of hand is because of the Jumpmaster.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like this is fine because it has the downside of having the stress as well. But it demands so badly extreme balance on the scum faction.
Yep.
If you have a ship that's a bit too cheap and a bit too efficient with its dial, this is going to abuse it like nothing else. I have discussed this with several different X-Wing players over the past year, talking about the issues with this card. And I keep hearing this over and over again. We need to reel back ships it can fly on. It should cost more. And my argument's always been, no. ATTANNI Mindlink isn't broken. It's the Jumpmaster that's broken. And my whole argument is we only ever see ATTANNI Mindlink on the Jumpmaster for that reason. The Jumpmaster is very efficient in terms of point cost. Its dial is frankly amazing.
Yep.
I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. And look, ATTANNI Mindlink, limiting it to 2 per squad, it addresses the whole issue with the Jumpmaster, and it also addresses the potential issue of flying it with 4 Vaxi. And I'm willing to bet that FFG play-tested the 4 Vaxi build with ATTANNI Mindlink before making this decision.
And then was scared and ran away.
Pretty much. The way I saw it was ATTANNI Mindlink in itself, in a vacuum, was fine, but it's about the environment it's in, and it was just rife for abuse. Limiting it to 2 per squad. I don't know if that makes it unplayable. I mean, ultimately, I've only ever seen it flown on 2 different ships, although I have seen versions of old Fenaroo, where Mindlink is on Manaroo and Fen Rao and not on Old Terek because he wants VI to match pilot skill with Fen Rao. But ultimately, that squad again was pretty much just all ATTANNI Mindlink. Limited to 2 per squad. I'm on the fence about whether or not this just kills the card altogether. In the comment section, guys, I want to hear your opinion on this. Does this kill ATTANNI Mindlink? It is worth discussing. Let's move on to the next thing we're going to talk about. And this is a hard ship nerf across its entire frame. I've been saying this for ages.
It's about time.
It's about time. The problem with the quote-unquote nerfs FFG have done for the Jumpmaster is they've only ever nerfed combos. They nerfed Deadeye. Oh, yes, they nerfed R4 Agromech, so you couldn't use Deadeye R4 Agromech, all that kind of stuff. But essentially, what they've been doing is nerfing the combos. And I feel very strongly that the issue with this ship has always been its core frame. Look, for 25 points, everything you're seeing here on the screen, plus salvaged astromech, plus 2 torps, plus that dial, is just too much.
Yeah.
And I feel like this for 25 points is fine. It's worth saying that one of the most common proposed nerfs a lot of people were talking about was an across-the-board point increase by 2 and no APT on the Scout. FFG have opted to leave the APT on the Scout, which is interesting. I look at it and think, yeah, it's actually, without those slots, there isn't so much room for abuse with the APT.
Yeah.
And with now that ATTANNI Mindlink is scaled back, and again, This is what it came down to. I thought it was either going to be the APT on the Scout or a Tiny Mindlink. And what it came down to with the Tiny Mindlink.
Yeah.
You can't take 3 of these with the Tiny Mindlink anymore. Is it worth taking 2 with the Tiny Mindlink? I don't know.
Maybe.
It's actually worth considering, but I ultimately feel like probably not. And what this has done has nerfed all the pilots of the Jumpmaster. Now, I'm so happy this FAQ is out now so I can talk about the leak. Because the proposed leak took out the slots that we've talked about, but punishing one, the title, which costs 12 points and increases the primary weapon by 1 point to 3 red dice, which is absolutely worth it. Also brought back one of the icons, and I believe that was going to be salvaged astromech and one of the torpedoes. In fact, I believe they were talking about only having 1 torpedo slot and have a separate torpedo slot on the punishing one title, which means you can't take extra munitions on the contracted scouts. They didn't do that. They said, okay, no, hard nerf. These upgrade slots do not exist in any way on these ships at all.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately what that does is it knocks every single pilot down a peg. Dengar, probably the most untouched out of all these pilots.
Yeah.
He doesn't need torpedoes. He likes the salvaged astromech. He likes taking the unhinged. He likes taking the pain bot, where if you ever shoot him, you have to roll a dice. On a hit, your opponent suffers 1 damage. On a crit, you both suffer 1 damage, which is fantastic on Dengar. But ultimately, I feel like this is not too bad. Dengar is still going to get flown, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think builds without the astromech are still fine with Dengar, just a little bit less powered. And having things like unhinged astromech doesn't make or break Dengar.
No.
It makes him better, but it doesn't make him nuts.
Yeah.
And ultimately what it comes down to is breaking that combo of having multiple contracted scouts with a Tiny Mindlink. In fact, just over this last weekend, we saw one of these being flown at the Oz Nationals.
Yep.
That combo, in fact, I'll bring up the list here on the screen so you guys can see. We have 3 of the contracted scouts with a Tiny Mindlink, guidance chips, plasma torpedoes, and R4 agromech. One of them has extra munitions. One of them has intel agent. One of them has extra munitions and Boba Fett. And, I mean, this build exists pretty much at its core with contracted scout, a Tiny Mindlink, and the R4 agromech. The rest is just fluff.
Yep.
But the combo is so powerful. The ability to take focus token, spend a focus token, and always get target locks. This means you can get target locks on the defender every combat, even if you weren't in range to lock them in the first place, because you can always focus, wait for them to fly into range, spend the focus on the attack, and always target lock.
Yeah.
It's so potent. It's just a great, powerful list. And I think it needs to be knocked down a peg or 2.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. So, ultimately, what we're left with here with the Jumpmaster is EPTs, crews, and lists across the board. And I don't think that kills it.
No.
I think the Bumpmaster as a build is still viable. It loses the unhinged astromech, but, say, trick shot, intel agent, feedback array, and anti-pursuit lasers is still very potent.
Yeah.
It means you can force bumps on your opponent, ping them with the anti-pursuit lasers, use feedback array, which is very potent on the Jumpmaster. And it's still good, but it's not, oh wow.
Yeah.
It's no longer that level. And it's only a support ship. You don't fly 3 of those.
No.
You have a bad time if you fly 3 of those. Your opponent will punish you.
I still reckon you could fly 2 contracted scouts with the Tani and then have something else with like a...
I'm very curious about that. I am very curious. You could fly like a Fen Rao or a Zuckuss or an altered party bus with Greedo and Boba Fett.
Yeah.
There's lots you can do with the sort of third of your squad cost range. And in the comment section, what do you guys think? Do you still think we can fly 2 of these scouts with a Tiny Mindlink? Do you feel like even though the power level of a Tiny Mindlink's gone down, has it nerfed it into oblivion? And I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure. My feelings are... I'm on the fence about the scouts and the Mindlink. I think Dengar is fine. Dengar will still get flown.
Yeah.
He's probably just a bit more restrained and a bit more on par with the rest of his scum bounty hunters. You mean, you look at guys around about that same point cost, about half of your squad. Things like Boba Fett, Bosk, IG-88, any of them. And I feel like Dengar just punches a bit above their weight for the same cost.
Yeah.
This makes me feel like he's a bit closer to being amongst that pool of the same power level, which is really good because it opens up the meta to flying any of these on your scum squad. Instead of just everyone auto-adding Dengar, if you have like the 50 to 60 point range, you can then have other options, and you're not punished for flying something that's less competitive because it no longer is less competitive. So in the comment section, I want to hear your guys' thoughts. I feel like Dengar is still viable, but everything else that's been affected by this nerf, what do you guys think? I think it is, honestly, having flown with and against these combos, it was an important nerf.
Yeah.
It's just too powerful for its point buy-in. It's too efficient, doing too much with those upgrade combos, and I think ultimately, I'm sorry if you fly Jumpmasters and you feel this is a bit harsh, but ultimately I feel that this is a good thing for the game.
Yeah.
And that's what it boils down to. Anyway, guys, thanks for that. Like, subscribe, like our Facebook page, and we'll catch you later.
Bye.